Room 307. Chapter 8, The Missing Floor. 3:24 a.m. Nobody spoke for what felt like an entire minute. The receptionist's final words seemed to settle over the lobby more heavily than anything else he had said that night. Every strange event, every impossible detail, and every unanswered question suddenly appeared to revolve around a single point. Until now, Room 307 had been little more than a number mentioned in an emergency alert and engraved upon an old brass key. Now it felt like something altogether different. Not simply a room, something waiting. Liam rubbed both hands over his face before letting out a slow breath. I'm going to say something incredibly obvious. Nobody looked away from the staircase. I really wish I'd booked somewhere else. A tired smile appeared on Sophie's face. I think we're all feeling that. Daniel shook his head. No, you're all taking this far too calmly. What do you suggest? Ethan asked. Daniel looked around the lobby. I don't know. Smash a window, break the front doors down, anything except standing here listening to ghost stories. They're not ghost stories, Margaret said quietly. Daniel looked towards her. You don't know that. No. She met his eyes. But neither do you. The words weren't confrontational. They didn't need to be. Daniel looked away first. Ethan found himself drifting back towards the reception desk almost without thinking. His mind refused to settle on any single explanation because each possibility collapsed beneath its own contradictions. If somebody had orchestrated an elaborate hoax, they possessed impossible access to every guest's mobile phone. If the receptionist was somehow responsible, his reactions had become too genuine to dismiss his performance. If the hotel itself somehow held answers, then those answers seemed determined to reveal themselves only one piece at a time. He looked down at the leather-bound guest register once again. Every name remained exactly where it had been. Every room number appeared ordinary. Nothing about the page suggested it had ever contained the words, reserved, do not allocate. He slowly turned back a few pages. Guest after guest, date after date. Everything appeared meticulously organized. Then something caught his attention, the handwriting. At first glance, every page looked identical, but after studying them for several moments, Ethan realized the signatures hadn't changed in style for dozens of years. A flowing signature from 3 days ago appeared written with exactly the same ink and exactly the same pen pressure as another dated almost 20 years earlier. He turned another page. The same. Another. Still the same. The ink hadn't faded. The paper hadn't yellowed. Nothing looked older than anything else. Sophie noticed him staring. What is it? I think this register should look older. She stepped beside him. What do you mean? The entries. He pointed towards several dates. Look at these. Sophie leaned closer. One arrival date read October 14th, 1998. Another page showed the 3rd of May, 2007. Several more stretched across different years. Yet every page looked freshly written. The paper was crisp. The ink remained dark. Even the signatures appeared untouched by time. It looks brand new, Sophie murmured. Exactly. The receptionist remained silent. He didn't deny it. Liam had wandered towards the wall displaying framed photographs of the hotel through the decades. Earlier that evening, Ethan had briefly noticed them without paying much attention. Now every image seemed worthy of inspection. Come and look at this. His voice echoed gently through the empty lobby. The group gathered around the largest photograph. It showed the front of Alder House Hotel during the late 1960s. The building looked almost identical to the present day. The same slate roof, the same entrance, the same stone walls. Only the parked cars revealed the photograph's age. Liam pointed towards one upstairs window. That's the one you noticed earlier, isn't it? Ethan nodded slowly. The same dark window. Every other room reflected daylight. One remained completely black, even though the photograph had clearly been taken during the afternoon. It can't just be the angle, Sophie said. No, it doesn't make sense. It didn't then either. Ethan stepped closer until he was almost touching the glass. Something else had changed. There were people standing outside the hotel. Families, guests, staff, nearly 30 people altogether. Most smiled towards the photographer. One man wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking upwards, towards the black window. His expression wasn't smiling. It wasn't frightened either. It looked concerned, as though he'd noticed something nobody else had. Ethan felt an unexpected chill. The man's face seemed strangely familiar. He couldn't place it. Not quite. Margaret suddenly inhaled sharply. "I know him!" Everyone turned. "What?" Ethan asked. "I've seen him before." "Where?" "I don't know." She frowned. "But I know that face." The receptionist looked toward the photograph. For the briefest moment, his expression faltered. "You shouldn't look at those for too long." "Why not?" Liam asked. "They occasionally change." Nobody laughed. Daniel had had enough. Without warning, he picked up one of the heavy brass fire pokers from beside the fireplace and marched towards the front entrance. "Daniel," Chloe called. He ignored her. "This place has one way or another of opening." He swung the poker hard against the glass panel beside the entrance. The impact rang throughout the lobby. The glass didn't crack. It didn't even vibrate. Daniel stared in disbelief before striking it again. Then again. The sound echoed through the hotel like a church bell. Still nothing. Not the faintest mark appeared upon the glass. "Impossible," he muttered. He struck it a fourth time. This time the poker bent. The thick steel shaft curved almost 45 degrees near the handle. Daniel simply stared at it. Nobody knew what to say. Sophie carefully examined the window. There isn't even a scratch. Daniel slowly let the twisted poker fall onto the floor. "I hit that as hard as I could." "I know." "It should have shattered." "I know." The receptionist looked genuinely sympathetic. "It never works." Daniel rounded on him. "You've tried?" The receptionist hesitated. "A very long time ago." The lobby lights flickered once, not enough to plunge the room into darkness, just enough for everyone to notice. A second later, every clock mounted upon the wall stopped. Not gradually, instantly. Every second hand froze. Every pendulum became still. The grandfather clock beside the fireplace fell silent halfway through a tick. The entire hotel seemed to pause. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Then somewhere above them came the unmistakable sound of a child laughing. It lasted only 2 or 3 seconds. A quiet, playful laugh. The kind that should have belonged in a garden on a sunny afternoon. Not inside an isolated hotel shortly after 3 in the morning. Chloe grabbed Daniel's arm. "There aren't any children here." Daniel looked around the lobby. "No." "There weren't." Margaret slowly closed her eyes. "I heard it." "So did I," Liam whispered. Ethan looked instinctively towards the guest register. Something had changed. The pages were turning. Very slowly. There was no breeze. Nobody stood close enough to touch them. Yet one page lifted gently by itself before folding over onto the next. Then another. Then another. The paper moved with almost deliberate patience, as though invisible fingers were searching for a particular entry. Finally, the pages stopped. The book lay open exactly in the center. Every person instinctively stepped closer. Only one room number remained visible on the page. This time there was a name beside it, written in fresh black ink. Ethan Carter. For several long seconds, nobody spoke. Ethan felt the color drain from his face. He knew he hadn't imagined it. Moments earlier, the page had listed dozens of guests. Now, every other name had disappeared. Only his remained. The receptionist looked down at the register, and whatever composure he had managed to hold on to throughout the night finally deserted him. His face became pale. His breathing caught. When he looked back up at Ethan, there was unmistakable urgency in his voice. "You need to give me the key." Ethan instinctively tightened his grip around the cold brass fob. "Why?" The receptionist took a hurried step around the desk, for the first time since the nightmare had begun. "Because," he said, struggling to keep the fear from his voice, "it thinks you've accepted the invitation."